Hello folks and welcome. So Cinnamon Desktop filming in 1080 even though I'm in 4K mode. Today I'm going to talk about ISOs or computer images. Whether it's from Mint or others, if you want to test drive other Linux distributions, I'm going to show you how to do that. In today's video I'm not going to burn these onto DVDs. I'm going to actually put the images on USB sticks. That's very common nowadays. And I'll talk about the different distributions. We'll start with Mint, talk about MX Linux, CauchyOS, and maybe Zorin, or maybe others. Maybe you have an interest on testing other distributions. Maybe you're new to the world of downloading ISOs and verification. So I'm going to also talk about verifications because that's important to understand that. In either case, folks, welcome. Subscription logo is in the corner. Well over 500 videos and all kinds of things. Let's talk a little bit about, for the folks that don't know where to go to look for other distributions. Somebody installed Mint maybe on your machine. Well, you can start with my channel if you like. I have lots of videos and all kinds of things, 567 currently. Over here is DistroWatch. You can also find it in the About section, and if you're a new subscriber, I do recommend reading that. So DistroWatch looks like this. Okay, if not, go search that on the internet. So I have it fairly small right now because I wanted to let you see the page hit ranking on the right side of the page. I do not use the ranking whatsoever because the very fact is to have one website gauge how many Linux desktops or any of that Linux material is in the world is hard to gauge from one website. It's probably impossible actually. But they have a number starting at 1 to 100, and there's actually more if you hit more statistics. Now I'll blow this up a little bit for you on the fly, holding down the control key while scrolling with my mouse. So I'll start with Mint, and again I don't use the popularity factor, but with Mint it gives you a short description of everything that you need to know about the distributor, in this case Mint. Sometimes you'll see beginners and sometimes not so much. But Live Medium is what I want you to focus in on if you've never done this. Live Medium will tell you that when you download the image, you can test drive it without installing it first. And generally, they only have one screenshot on DistroWatch of one of these desktops. There are 3 here. And Linux Mint produces 2 Cinnamon desktops, LMDE and Linux Mint 22 currently. Mate is their traditional desktop. XFCE is lightweight. So it may be some interest to you. Always go to the respective website, whether you go through here or look it up yourself. Always download that, not just from anywhere. You go directly to the website. Okay, linuxmint.com. I'll do it a different way. I have their direct link here. It's the same web page. So you have LMDE6 here and all versions here. The current version code name is Xia. And Cinnamon, Mate, and XFCE. Supported until April of 2029. Down at the bottom is just the number 6. This is LMDE6. It's Debian based. So let's say you download it off the main site. You can go down here and you've already got Cinnamon running on your machine and you're curious what XFCE is all about. Well, you can always test drive it. All right, it's 3 gigabytes. Can you afford the time? Well, go look at maybe some sites that are close to you. I don't know where you are in the world. You could be in Canada, USA, or other countries. Don't know. But you can download the image and they end up in your download folder. They look like this. So I went to Mint, I went to MX, and I went to Cauchy and to Zorin. I will be going on all of their web pages in a second. Because you should always download computer images from the respectful distribution and not just anywhere. You also want to make sure that these have not been tampered with. There's nothing worse than installing malicious software. And there are people out there that will try to get you to download, let's say, MX from the non-MX website or any of the other flavors for that matter. So always go to the correct or official website when you do this. Now, since we're dealing with Mint, I have 22 sitting in here. And why would you want to have a copy of this in your drawer, in your desk at any time? Well, Mint has, in addition to being able to boot it up on your any computer as a live image, you can also install it. But it also has tools in there that are disk repair and time shift, which is a system restore utility. I have those kind of videos. So remember that. So I'm going to right click and we can see the stuff in the menu. Now I can tell you where some of this stuff is actually coming from because we're going to talk about adding more tools in here. So the Verify tool is the very basic and it comes installed. Mint will install this for you. All right, so with the Linux Mint products, they will already have the file plugged in with the websites on them. That's coming from kernel.org. And it will calculate the SHA-256 automatically for you. It'll take a second depending on the speed of your computer. But more importantly, we're going to talk about using that as our gauge on the rest of these, because the rest of these do not have these files plugged in. But let's get this one out of the way. So I downloaded that from Mint. This is 22.1 Cinnamon, the same flavor I'm using. Verify. So it's going to contact that other website and match it up to what I have downloaded, and everything looks good. So that matched. And some other material. Okay, so now let's talk about the next image in line. That doesn't have that information, but it is calculating right now. So how do we verify that this is any good? Well, you obviously downloaded it from somewhere. Hopefully you went to the reputable website, but let's open up a browser. So I will go directly to MX's website. Now you can get the link through DistroWatch, but please remember to go click on the official link, the home page, if you go through DistroWatch. mxlinux.org, nonprofit. Download section is here. They offer an XFCE desktop, and what is it, if you don't know? It's a lightweight desktop. KDE, Plasma Desktop, Fluxbox. Don't really recommend that for brand new users to Linux. But as you grow in skills and skill sets, Fluxbox can be fun. We have 64-bit, 32-bit, you can see that right there, and we have AHS. It stands for Advanced Hardware Support, a newer kernel for newer hardware. Then we have a respin of Raspberry Pi, if you know what those are. If not, go look them up on Amazon.com. They sell those things, Raspberry Pis. Plasma is here, or KDE. Then you have the Flux boxes with 2 flavors. We're going to concentrate on that one. So you have just downloaded that image right here. It's sitting in your download. And you wanted to verify that this is good. The download is good, and let's say you wanted to check to make sure this is reasonably not been tampered with. All right, we're going to do that. So we're going to first take a look at how this is done on this website, because they're all different. How to verify ISO. So you can click that, and it's going to give you a bunch of numbers. So we're going to focus in on this number here throughout this whole video, because this is very common on a lot of Linux websites. Your file manager currently doesn't have that tool for doing this for foreign ISOs. Right click, verify is all you have. Okay? So we're going to install 2 tools. Go find your system settings and look for actions. These are the tools. If you type in the word verify, you will see the tool that I just used. All right, you can't uninstall that. There's no X there, there's a lock. Linux Mint installed this for you. But we can install other tools though. Now anything in the managed field, let me clear the search feature. Anything in the managed area with a check mark means it's active either in the file manager or anytime you right click on submenus. They're all coming generally from here. Not all, but most of them. Okay. So change desktop background. You're probably familiar with that. That's actually right here. If you turn this off, this will disappear. If you want me to give you an example of that, I'll do it right now. right click, it's not here anymore. Let me turn that back on. Takes me a second. All right. Hit the download section and type in 256. We're going to install two tools, Calculate and Verify. The Verify is the more important one. The Calculate, not so much, but I would just install them, both of them. They're both by the same developer, by the way. You can see that by the names. All right, however long yours takes to install. Now, if you failed this part and you close the window without turning these on, which is the plus key, you can still do that in your file manager. So right click, you can see the tools are not there. So how do we activate them? Edit, Preferences, Plugins. If you your scroll bar could be smaller than mine. I have videos on how to make big scroll bars if you want to check that. But these two are not checked. That means they're not available currently unless I enable them. So you can enable them individually or just do that. And it activates both of them at the same time. Now they're here. So the Calculate, all it does is calculate your 256. That's all it's going to do. So this part here is the number itself. And that part and the tail end is the name of the file. It's located in your home folder, your username, in this case it's that one, downloads, and the name of the file. How does that help us? Well, if you go onto MX's website, we're going to take the 256. So as a rehash, let me go back. We're going to do the download first. After the download, we're going to slide on over to Verify. We're going to find the right file you downloaded and the SHA 256. Take your mouse and highlight that number. If you highlighted some extra digits, you may have to do that a couple of times. But more importantly, you can also hand type in this long number. I don't recommend it though. Right click, copy. Right click, verify. All you need to do is paste that now. Right click, paste. Then hit OK. The hashes are the same because it checked the one you have downloaded against the number I just copied from that website. That number there, that long number. I'll use the other tool for a second. You can see that it starts with 69, ends with a 78. That's the same number. So I can be reasonably sure that that's a valid image. Now let's go to this KachiOS. So let me get rid of all this. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to close the browser. And KachiOS is a Arch-based distribution. And let's say you downloaded the desktop section and you need to verify that after you download. Well, there's the checksum right there. This will actually download a text file to you. You'll see that in a second. All of a sudden you'll see your downloader click in when you click that. So I will close that and reopen the file manager and let you see there's an extra file here now. That one. So this is just a verification file against this one. So let's open that up and take a peek at it. You may have to enlarge your text editor. I usually hold down the Control key and scroll because this text editor is Xed. That's the default for Mint. This is our number that we need. So I'm going to highlight that, and the rest of this stuff is just the name of the file. So don't highlight the whole thing. Highlight only the number that's sitting in here. There will be a space there. And then copy that. Right click, copy that. Control C, copy. Right click, copy. All right, then open, we're dealing with this one. Right click, and we're going to do verify. And then paste that information in here. And hit go. Hit OK. All right, if the thing comes up as a match, then we're done with that one. And they do. The hashes are a match. They are the same. So we can be reasonably sure this one is good. Let me get rid of that one. So I only have one left, Zorin. So let's go find that website. Again, always recommend going directly to their website. Now, Zorin OS, just like Linux Mint, is considered by some, not all, a beginner system. I've been around Linux ever since it was founded. That was what, 30 years ago? Somewhere in there. And Unix before that. So I've been around the block a long time. And I can tell you one thing. The naysayers always say some silly stuff in my book. Oh, you can't do advanced stuff on Zorin, or you can't do advanced stuff on Linux Mint. Go take a look at my 500 videos. You'll probably find some advanced subject on both those. All right, go to the download section. Now their pro version comes at a cost. You don't have to download it, but if you want to pay for that, you get some extra bells and whistles. In the US, it's $48, but they do have the free version right here. All right, so you click that and you download that. That's a GNOME desktop. You can just find information on this on this distribution on DistroWatch also, but download it from the official website. So where's the verification part? You're scrolling around and you probably missed that right there. But there it is. And let's look at our file. It is 17.3 Core R2. You make sure that you're not using an old version that you're trying to use these numbers with, because these are all meant to match. All right, so we're going to highlight that number with our computer mouse if you have one. You remember, folks, if you have a laptop, you can always plug in computer mice, whether they're wired or wireless. I prefer mice instead of touchpads. Copy. And let's go over to here and right-click, and we're going to verify or calculate. I haven't talked about calculate yet. Verify. Let the computer do the work for you. It does the calculation, and it'll tell you if it's a match or not. They are the same. Now, the other tool that I have here is called Calculate, and all it does is literally calculate your 256 and gives you a number. So let's do this with the Verify tool here for a second and allow that to calculate. And then I'll bring up the tool. And this will be another silly way of doing it. Ending number is that one. Looks like a match, but I would prefer to use the other tool. So verify 256 comes in handy for these other foreign ISOs. Linux Mint, as again I pointed out, you can use this tool for that because it does all of that for you. Can you also use that? Well, you're going to have to go find those numbers. But Linux Mint plugs them in here on the kernel.org also. So if you're interested in some other distribution besides the one I just made mention, again, you can, let me go backwards. You can go to DistroWatch as just one example, unless a friend of yours had made mention of the fact that whatever the distribution you're interested in, you can go directly to Debian, for instance, because even Mint is based off of Debian. But Debian.org is their website. And I believe this is the net downloader. You can also find other downloads through here. But you'll have to find the information about the verification part on the individual respective websites. I always recommend at least verify the image itself. And more importantly, I also do not recommend going to the wild, wild west of the internet to download these computer images from just anywhere. If you're interested in MX, go to MX. If you're interested in KachiOS, go to KachiOS. If you're interested in Zorin, go to Zorin. If you're interested in Linux Mint, go to Linux Mint. These are just shortcuts. Through my site, you can find DistroWatch. But you're going to end up doing this if you do this anyways. So, Mint, homepage, click. Now that we confirmed that all of these are good, let's now talk about burning these onto a USB stick. The word burning just means put the image on the stick. So you can boot it up on a different computer, laptop or tower, it doesn't matter, to test drive it and then maybe install it after you find out that you like it or don't like it. Now, I'm also going to tell you that there are tools out there that have what they call persistent storage. I will caution you because I have plenty of experience in the world. Again, I've been around Linux ever since it was founded, in Unix before that. So I've seen a lot of failures also. Generally, USB devices, sticks, are cheap for a reason. They're not meant to write files constantly. So to give you an example of a persistent USB thing, if you're constantly using a web browser and your image is on the USB stick and it's writing files back to it, it'll eventually fail because it's not a hard drive. It's not designed that way. That's why they're cheap. Hard drives are meant to have files replaced, such as spinning drives or solid-state drives. All right, with that said, let's take a look at the size of these images. So if you're at 100%, normal size, in other words, you're not going to see the size of these. If you're using a regular computer mouse, and I'm going to hold down my control key on my keyboard and scroll up. Then it gives me the sizes immediately. You can also do it the old-fashioned way. 3.8 gigabytes, 2.8 gigabytes, 2.3 gigabytes, 3. What would I use generally for these? A 4 gigabyte USB stick for each one of these. Can I use an 8 for that one? Yes. How about that one? Yes. Can I use a 16 gigabyte on any one of these? Yes. It will just be a waste of space. Once you burn an ISO onto those USB sticks using this tool I'm about to show you, it will lock it. In other words, you will have no bytes left over. However, I'm going to make mention of it now. If you want to treat it like a persistent, you can get another USB stick and then save your files to it, or a USB hard drive, provided you have 2 ports on your computer, and most modern computers nowadays do. Now I'm going to move on. Linux Mint has these tools available for you automatically installed: Image Writer and Stick Formatter. I'll start with Stick Formatter first. Do I have something inserted? I do. I have a very large USB stick, 128 gigabytes, and I'm going to leave it there actually. Is it overkill? Absolutely. The stick formatter is used to format USB sticks and USB hard drives. This one I will caution you on. If you're currently using a USB portable hard drive that's currently inserted when you're trying to make these ISOs. Because the very fact is, if you're formatting, are you formatting the one that's currently in there? Well, if you are, you may want to take a look at the drop-down arrow. You may have another selection, maybe a 4 gigabyte, 8 gigabyte, 16 gigabyte stick. I just have the single. I'm just making mention of the caution. Be careful about using formatter when you have inserted hard drives, USB connected. All right, in either case, what I'm going to do is, this is a solid state 128 gigabyte stick. It is not a hard drive, but it will be considered like one. I'm just going to leave the defaults. I generally don't like spaces and labels, but I'm not going to permanently use this anyways. I'm just using it to clean it up. Okay, that's just a made-up name. It's our user for today. This takes only a couple seconds on my machine. Now I'm going to type in USB, and we're going to put an image on this thing. An ISO is a computer image. Okay, we're going to try to use that, and we're going to boot that up on different machines, right? Where is the image? Generally in your download folder. And it'll just look for all the ISOs in here. So find the image that you want. I'll pick on MX. Where's it going? USB stick. I only have the one. Is it overkill? Yes. Have we do the verifications? I did that earlier, remember? On all 4 of those images. I'm ready for write. Password time. Just a made-up name user. You can see how quickly this is doing this. All right, so in either case, if you decide to use the image to save files, just carry a spare USB stick. That's my recommendation. Now it's done. If I click that, you'll get an error. It'll say no object for DBoss because you need to pull it out and reinsert it. So I will do that. Now you can see the word MX Live right there, and that's exactly what this is. So when I right click on this thing, this will also tell me that it has no free bytes left over. And I'll do that one more time to get the Pi. The Pi says I have nothing left. It's 2.3 gigabytes. It's called MX Live because it's an ISO computer image. We can still find information on this thing under this right here called disks. It's still 128 gigabytes, but I can't use the free space. So generally ISOs 9660s were designed that way. This was originally designed to be put on that plastic we call platters. The DVDs nowadays, but prior to that was CDs, because the computer images were quite small in the old days. But in either case, it locks these up, and this space is kind of lost. So would I use a 128 gigabyte stick if I want to keep this permanently? No. But I can still boot into MX Live, and then I can play with it. I can also save files if I have a second USB stick. And I can also reformat this later. Matter of fact, that later is now. Now you can see the practicality of the formatter, possibly. This only takes me a second, and the image is gone. So I can reuse that now for something else. Then I can go ahead and burn the second image of KachiOS and test drive that on another machine, install it if I want. But if you are going to be installing these things, please, I would also caution you on not having a spare backup copy, because you never know when you need to re-image or use the tools that come with these. I'll give you an example of Mint. Mint comes with tools like boot repair and time shift to do system restores. I have videos on that. A lot of these other distributors also offer similar tools. Always keeps a copy of that. And what would I be using these for? Probably a 4 gig USB stick and stick it in a drawer, because you're not constantly writing to it. A lot of people go, well, I like persistence. Good for you. I have seen failures, and be careful with important files if you do that. We can say the same thing about spinning hard drives and really old solid state drives, hard drives. They will fail on you eventually also. But there is more chance of a failure if you're using those cheap USB sticks that you get for a couple of bucks, that you put the whole operating system on and you're using it on a daily basis for persistent storage. They weren't designed to do that. USB sticks are not designed for being a hard drive. Okay, just caution to the wind. So in either case, I'm at 28 minutes. A recap is you can use the verification tools after you download these things. Either verify or install the calculate and verify, or just install verify. That's up to you. And that way you can at least look at the 256s to make sure that they're valid. And you will have to go to the respective websites if you're not using Mint to check these yourself. And most reputable Linux distributors have those numbers there for you to verify. But more importantly, have a little fun with different Linux distributions, and that way you can also test drive them and install them for other people, because generally Linux does not require licensing and it's open source. It's not like Microsoft where it's only meant for 3 computers. Linux Mint, you can install it on 100 computers. Thank you for watching.